This video is a brief overview of the FB500 laser cutter and the APS Ethos software, intended as a little refresher for those who have already taken the induction. But before we get started, we just need to go over some brief health and safety points. First of all, you should always read the user guide and the Safe Systems of Work document for the equipment that you're using. For the laser cutter, you need to cut your material down to size. The maximum cutting area is 74 centimeters by 50 centimeters. Never cut an unapproved material. Check with a member of staff first if you're bringing material in yourself and we haven't supplied it. Never cut vinyl, PVC, metal, polycarbonate or any material that contains chlorine, as these give off harmful gases. And lastly, never cut without the extractor fan turned on. To demonstrate the laser cutting process, we'll be making this nameplate on plywood. This uses a variety of effects, from straightforward cutting to line engraving and raster engraving for the image. We'll begin by powering on the laser cutter and loading in our material. To power it on, press the green button on the lower front panel. If, for any reason, the emergency stop button has been used, simply twist it to disengage and then press the power button again. On the display, you will now see the machine starting up and performing some self-tests. You can now put your material onto the bed. Make sure that your material is as straight as possible, and if it's very thin or warped, you may wish to tape it to the bed. When the cover is opened, the machine is automatically put into offline mode. Let's take a look at the buttons we'll be using on the front panel. First is the offline button. Pressing this whilst the machine is offline will bring it online again, ready for use. Next we have the load reset button. You'll mostly use this button to load your material and set the dimensions. The enter button is used to confirm the position of the cutting head during this process. Lastly, we have the 4-way directional pad, which you will use to set the dimensions. Let's start by putting the machine online and turn it where our origin is, which is the bottom left corner of your material. After confirming this with the enter button, we now repeat the process to set the media extent. This is the top right corner of your material. If you have successfully defined your material, the cutting head should now return to the origin. Now we need to calibrate the height of the cutting head to be 3 mm from the surface of your material. To do this, loosen the height adjustment screw on the cutting head, then slide in the calibration plate. Move the cutting head down for a snug fit and then retighten the screw and remove the plate. Lastly, you need to turn the extractor fan on. Make sure that the metal flow diverter is pulled out so that the air can flow from the laser cutter bed, then press the green button to turn the fan on. You should also make sure that the fan speed is set to a minimum of 2 for laser cutting. We're now ready to move to the computer and begin preparing our job in Ethos. To start preparing your file for cutting, open the APS Ethos software, which is available on the taskbar or the desktop. Type in the password, which is password, and press OK. Before you open your file in APS Ethos, you need to prepare it by saving it as an Illustrator 3 document. You must have no fills in any of the shapes, and any text on there must be converted to outlines, otherwise it won't work. You can't have any images in it, you need to add those in Ethos instead. So we're going to open up our file. And we're going to zoom in a bit by selecting the zoom icon from the taskbar. And then go back to the selection tool. Okay, so first we need to assign colors to the objects on the screen. Colours are Ethos's way of designating what laser cutting effect to perform on a certain item. So we need to bring up the edit cutting effect window, which is up here. So we've already got one effect here. There may be more, but they can be safely ignored for now. So select the effect, and we're going to give the cut through effect a nice red colour so we can see what's happening. Okay, so anything that's red on the canvas will be cut through by the laser cutter. We'll also be using the engrave effect, so we'll create a new effect here and change the colour to green. Doesn't matter what colour. And select the engrave effect and assign it to the colour. And that's all you need to do. Okay, so as you can see, it's turned everything red now, which is not what we want for the text. So we'll select the text and change the effect to engrave. And as you can see, the effect assigned to this logo here is cut through, and the outside box is also cut through. Okay, if you want to insert an image into your job, select the image menu and press insert image, and then select it and hit open, and then click and drag to insert your image. Then you can move it around and resize it by clicking and dragging. That looks good. And one important step to remember when you add an image is we need to tell the machine to raster engrave this image. So you want to right click the image and click properties, and then click the enable engraving and the use images text box. So you can see here there's quite a few settings, and don't be afraid to play with these settings and adjust them if you're not getting the right result. So you can increase the resolution by making this number smaller, or decrease the resolution by making it bigger. And for the best accuracy and reproduction, make sure that the vertical option is selected. Once you're done, press apply and then OK. And now there's one more step before we send it to cut. We need to tell the machine what order to perform each effect in. So go to View, Snapshot. As you can see, by default we're in the View Blocks view, which shows us each individual item that's going to be cut or engraved. If you notice, the image doesn't appear because raster images are always cut first. What we want to do is select the box and make it cut that last. So right click it and click reorder to end. As you can see, it's moved it all the way to the end. Okay, to send your job to cut, we first need to go into the Materials Manager by selecting Output, Material Manager, Setup. There may be some errors if the laser machine isn't turned on, but they can be safely ignored. Select your material. In this case, I'm using 1.5mm plywood. And select OK. We're now all ready to send our file to the cutter. Once you've turned on extraction, go to Output, Cut Design. Double check that your material is correctly set up, then press OK. You can use the options on the cutting window to automatically repeat your designs to fill up your sheet of material, or to mirror your design for engraving onto the back of a piece of clear material, for example. But for this, we just want one, so leave the settings at their default value and press Send to Cutter.